So it was at that moment, Michelle, that I realized that what I do is not about bringing attention. It's about helping others to move into a place of peace. It literally changed my whole perspective. And for years, people would say, man, you're such a great singer. I don't understand why you're not a millionaire, why you're not a big star. And I would say, I don't know, I just feel like God's got another purpose for me. And I think a part of that was an inner knowingness, and a part of that was I was kind of making an excuse. Right. But I always knew that there was more, you know what I mean? But literally, that experience, when they held each other and they smiled, and I was like, oh, wait, there's so much more power to what I can give than to what I'm looking to receive. I'm looking to receive acknowledgement. And truthfully, I wasn't willing to accept the fact that they were going to spend the
entire concert
right?
You're pouring your heart and soul.
So it's right. So it started out to be a win, but the win for me was an awakening to what people will give us permission to manipulate their space. Yeah. But for their love, so that they can find their center, so that they can find their joy, that they can hear and feel. Not just hear the music, but feel an intentionality, feel a vibration and the power in those words. Right. And that was a shift for me. It was like, man, there's so much more. What a gift to be able to do that, because I felt their shift, right?
Right.
Every fruit on the tree started out with a seed. So dare to believe the impossible is possible. And so your deepest dream, grow your truest dream, bloom your freest dream with me.
Welcome to the Artist Bridge to Abundance podcast. I'm your host, Michele Renee Stone. And today we're sitting here talking to Fred Johnson, who is a world-renowned artist and singer and musician, and just someone who is, I met a long time ago, and it's just has always held a special place in my heart. And so, hi Fred.
Hi, good to be here, thank you.
I'm so glad you're here. So, I mentioned that when we first worked together in the Straz, there was a moment where you were doing an event and you were asked to do a sound sculpture. And I watched you and I were talking, and then you moved around the room a little bit, and then when it came time for you to perform, you just pulled together all these different conversations in your percussion box. Mm-hmm. And just made magic. Can you tell us about that?
It's actually an ancient tradition. Something that has been a part of my instinct since I was a very small child. Sometimes you evolve in life, mm-hmm. and life kind of guides you in directions, and you evolve in ways, and you develop gifts or talents or measures of understanding. And it's just kind of a fun thing. My ultimate moving into a place of this sound sculpture experience, I think, is really a byproduct of the fact that in the first 5.5 years of my life, I was awarded a state. And so in those developmental years where you really develop your communication and coping skills, my way of coping, because I didn't have regular hugging and holding, I didn't have that family environment, mm-hmm. was to make sound. And sound became my way of finding a sense of calm. And I rocked, because science mm-hmm. will tell us that, the body has a need for sound and motion. Mm-hmm. So I did those two things, and so it became a part of my internal being. And then when I began to learn to speak, it was really more comfortable for me to sing, mm-hmm. to kind of chant what I was thinking, mm-hmm. rather than to speak what I was thinking. So it became kind of a natural inclination, a natural skill. And, you can't live your whole life, being an opera or being musical theater. It just doesn't necessarily always work. So I dialed that back down. But then, of course, singing has always been a part of my life. And then, early on in my life, I was adopted by two amazing human beings. And my dad was really into jazz. So mm-hmm. improvising and things like that were natural for me. Right. But then later on in life, actually during my first 10-year tour at the Performing Arts Center, I had the opportunity to meet Baba Kwame Ishangi and Baba Jimo Kuyate, both of who were master artists, musicians. Baba Ishangi was a great dancer, he was a poet, he was an herbalist, he was a natural medicine doctor. Baba Jimo Kuyate was a jolly, he was an oral historian. So from these two gentlemen, I aligned with what was in my DNA.
Yeah.
And so to be able to spontaneously create something that I've always had an instinct for and something that they really kind of sharpened. And so sound sculpture and the sort of the role of the oral teller or the oral chanter or the music medicine person is to be in the space and to kind of take in what's happening in the space and then turn that into melody. Because what happens, the philosophy is, when you take life's experiences and turn them into a melodic narrative, it creates an alignment between the ear, and so it's heard, but it's felt
in the heart.
In the heart, and then the heart inspires and guides the mind. So it's like this melodic narrative is really a way of aligning heart, mind, our energy, our presence, and what's happening in the space that you're in. It's an improvisation, but life is an improvisational act, really, if you think about it. But it's a way of bringing beauty and sonic energy into a space that aligns people together. They feel it in their heart. It moves into their consciousness of their mind. It creates a sense of community and a sense of peace. It's something that I instinctively knew as a small child, but it continues to serve me in my way of being in the world now.
That's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And it's interesting how different people come into our lives that influence us, but inform us and also allow us to align more with our truest selves. And it sounds like your life has really kind of been, a journey of those kinds of, meeting those kinds of people and those kinds of experiences.
Yeah. Because, you start out, I wanted to be a star.
Yeah.
I wanted to sell millions of records and and be a jazz star, and I did musical theater and studied. And actually, interestingly enough, and I love this reality, is that in between doing gigs as a jazz singer and doing that whole thing, but also because I grew up in musical theater and studied musical theater, so I wanted to make it on Broadway, trying to get gigs on Broadway, and that's hard anyway, but when you're a little brown guy, it's even harder. So one day I went home to visit my mom and dad, who at that time were living in Trenton. I grew up in Trenton, New Jersey.
Yeah.
On my way to my parents' house, I went past the library, and there was a placard outside of the library, and it said, appearing one day only from the National Mime Theatre, Kenyon Martin. And so Kenyon Martin is this amazing American mime who had studied with Marcel Marceau in France and established the National Mime Theatre. And I had seen a little bit of mime on TV when I was younger, Marcel Marceau and Red Skelton, because Red Skelton was like America's famous clown. Also an amazing painter, by the way.
Oh
yeah, it was a phenomenal.
I had no idea.
His paintings of clowns are like world renowned.
Really?
Yeah, Red Skelton was an amazing painter. At any rate, so I said, well, let me just go in and check this out. So I went in and I spent like an hour and a half, did a performance, classical mime, no words, full, about 11 different vignettes. And I was just mesmerized. I was so moved by that without ever there being a spoken word, but it was the weights and measures of life and the face and laughter and tears. And so we laughed and we cried. And at the end, I went up to him afterwards and I said, man, I don't think I've ever been more moved by any theater. I'd love to know more about this. Yeah. And he said, well, I've got a school in Boston. He said, do you have any background in mime? I'm like, no. I said, a little bit of dance, but I've done a lot of musical theater. He said, well, see if you can get yourself an introduction and come and audition for the school. And I did that. I went and I auditioned, and I got into the school, the National Mime Theatre, and was in the school for 2.5 years, and then a principal performer for 5 years with the National Mime Theatre. And it was during that period of time of living in a world of nonverbal communication, I think I understood sound more powerfully. I think I'm a better singer now because I lived in the world of silence, and I understood kind of, in order to really, in classical mime, in order to really enhance a movement, you breathe into it. So it's like it's the breath that you put into the movement or the gesture, whether it's the head or whether it's the shoulder or the arm. It's the breath. And in melody, in song, it's the breath that the melody floats on, but it's the space in between when you're singing a melody. It's the drama, or it's the sensitivity, it's the texture of the breath that shifts how the listener receives your lyric. So I feel like living in a world of silence made me more astute and a better singer. And even I saw the world in a different way. Because now you don't just look at a tree and say, oh, beautiful tree, but you look at the way the leaves float. And so if you had to recreate that, what would it look like? What would it feel like? So I don't know how I started that.
It makes me think of, from a visual artist aspect, it makes me think of the negative space that makes the positive space pop out. And so you have to have both. It's the dark and the light. It's the in and the out, the up and the down.
Yeah, it's all of that. And that's where we are. I feel like that's where we are as a people now. Change doesn't manifest unless you have positive and negative.
Right.
But also a realization that everything is connected. That there's this great kind of oneness, and there are many, many ways of articulating that oneness. I mean, one of the things that I do is I do abstract art. I started doing that a number of years ago. And it's because whenever I sing, I see a storyline, or I don't necessarily say I see color, but I see shape and form.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all really related. So like when I'm scat singing or improvising, for me it's squares and blocks and circles. It's everything kind of moving through each other. So when I do my paintings, I sing. From the singing comes the painting. So that everything is really, really, really connected. And that's what the sound sculpture thing is. The sound sculpture and that experience, I've used it a lot, even in like clinical settings. I've gone on to chemotherapy wards and worked with folks who are in the midst of having chemo. But have a conversation with them about what are the things that they like to do. Like, if you weren't here right now, what would you be doing? And maybe it's gardening, or maybe it's automotives, or whatever. And so what I do is, after I have that conversation, then I create a little melody. Like, say, can I create our melodic story today? And I'll sing kind of and celebrate them and who they are and what they love to do. And what happens is that you shift from a feeling of I'm diminished and I'm trying to heal, to a proactive, creative space. This is what I love to do. This is now, energetically, this is defining who I am, not the chemo. If anything, it helps to embellish, or the natural medicines of the body awaken. And work with whatever the medicine that's going into the body. And it gives you a sense of calm, it gives you more breath. It's a really, really powerful thing. Reshaping. Imagery is a really important thing. So if I'm in a space of feeling diminished, or if I'm in a space of what I love to do, then the natural pain inhibitors in my body are working, when my imagination is working, and my blood is pumping, and more breath is moving in. So I'm assisting this process towards healing. And that's why creativity is so important in all its forms.
I agree 1,000%. I think you and I share a deep understanding as to how art has transformed our own lives.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. For me, it was even simple things like, my mom used to get the pantyhose, and I would take the little cards and use those as things to draw on. But it gave me that sense of being outside of myself. Well, outside, but also inside, and more congruent. Sure. Yeah. And I know that that's the direction that you really started going in your world, is just really exploring how music and art help heal the body.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I don't remember what year it was, but it was like in the early 90s on a 4th of July.
Okay.
In Straub Park in downtown St. Petersburg. My band and I, we were flying high then, and there were 100,000 people. I mean, people in boats and everywhere, and we're doing this concert, right? And so Straub Park was packed. And we're on stage, and we're hitting it. I mean, we're really throwing, and the crowd is just going crazy. But right down in front, literally right down in front of me, there was this couple.
Yeah.
And they were like at each other's throats, like they were angry with each other. So we're out there, and I'm like, hey, what is this? I'm killing myself up here. What are you doing, And my thing is, I'm wanting to get their attention. I'm like, I can't get to these people. And we're just going, we're really going, and they're just, thousands of people. I can only feel them, right? I'm like, what is going on with them?
Yeah.
So finally, I do the one thing that they say you shouldn't do outside as a performer. I cut the band off, right? 100,000 people who are outside in the middle of the day, 4th of July.
Right.
And I start singing a cappella.
Oh, okay.
Right? And I sing, turn down the lights, turn down the bed, turn down these voices inside my head. And every once in a while I'm looking out my one eye, lay back with me and tell me no lie. And anyway, I get to the part where, but I can't make you love me if you don't. And I open my eyes and they're looking into each other's eyes.
Oh.
Right? And as I'm singing one more, and then they hold each other and they hug each other, and they're both, they got like a little tear in their eye. So it was at that moment, Michelle, that I realized that what I do is not about bringing attention. It's about helping others to move into a place of peace. It literally changed my whole perspective. And for years, people would say, man, you're such a great singer, man. I don't understand why you're not a millionaire, why you're not a big star. And I would say, I don't know, I just feel like God's got another purpose for me. I just feel, and I think a part of that was an inner knowingness, and a part of that was I was kind of making an excuse.
Right.
But I always knew that there was more, you know what I mean? But literally, that experience, when they held each other and they smiled, and I was like, oh, wait, there's so much more power to what I can give than to what I'm looking at to receive. I'm looking to receive acknowledgement. And truthfully, I wasn't willing to accept the fact that they were going to spend the
entire concert.
Right?
You're pouring your heart and soul.
So it's right. So it started out to be a win, but the win for me was an awakening to what people will give us permission to manipulate their space.
Yeah.
But for their well, so that they can find their center, so that they can find their joy, that they can hear and feel, not just hear the music, but feel an intentionality, feel a vibration and the power in those words.
Right.
And that was a shift for me. It was like, man, there's so much more. What a gift to be able to do that, because I felt their shift, right?
Right. And
the audience went crazy after this thing, so it was like, I was like so thankful.
Yeah.
To be guided to that moment, because that's where the knowledge comes. The knowledge comes when we're not expecting it. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh man. It shifted my understanding of what I could be, how I could contribute in the world in a different way. And interestingly enough, a lot of things began to change for me. Like just opportunities came in, and opportunities for awakening.
Right.
Just to kind of understand how to reshape. And then a few years later, I met Baba Shangi and Baba Kudate and Sheikh Isham Kabani and a bunch of, spiritual masters and artistic healers, just kind of, and helped me to reshape my understanding how I could be.
I'm in awe.
I'm just happy to be here.
I'm in awe. That is, I can only imagine what happened in that moment, not only for you, but for your band.
Yeah.
And then, but the rest of the crowd, because those two people changed, but then you said that the rest of the crowd.
Yeah, the energy of the afternoon changed, and we just, it was fantastic, and it was one of the greatest days of our band when we were performing at that time. It was really, really great, but it really shifted a whole thing inside of me.
Do you feel like you were more congruent after that?
I feel like I was more humble, because I always like I stormed on the stage. It's like, I got this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, y'all, here we go. My goal was at the end of and I still have that energy and that, but it really was humbling. It just opened up a whole nother thing that kind of, it was like, look, man, this is not about you. Right. This is through you.
Yeah.
And that's a different frame, right?
Yeah.
It's like, be grateful that you can do what you love and understand that there's a whole nother thing. And it kind of led me to understand, because in the music business, especially when you're trying to make it in the music business, right. You're as valuable as your next hit record, right. Or what's playing on the radio. Right. At that time, I was in that world, and it helped me to understand, every time you perform or every time you go in front of people, it's like the first time. Mm-hmm. But it's the first time because you get to have an experience. It's like a pass-through.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because in the world of artistic make it, whether you're a painter, whether you're a singer, whatever, it's like, is this the one? Is this the piece? Is this the song? Is this the whatever?
Right.
You got to go all in to meet what goal. And my thing was that every single experience, every time that I'm given the gift of sharing time with people,
Right.
I get to do what I love, and it's a pass-through.
Yeah.
It's like I get the benefit of being able to be of service and know that that's an important thing. You know what I mean? So it just shifted my way of understanding how to be.
Yeah. Wow. So many things are going on inside of me right now. It's just, I'm a firm believer in the idea that life is like a progression.
Mm-hmm.
And so that life happens to you, for you, through you. And so there's people like at the beginning of their life, they kind of believe that life is happening to them. And then there's like this flip that happens where they start to realize that life is actually happening for them. And that the more that they lean into that, they realize that we're all part of Source. Mm-hmm. We're all part of God. We're all part of. Mm-hmm. And the more we lean into what is truly the reason that we're here, our purpose, that whole kind of thing, that it starts to happen through you. When it starts to happen through you, that things are more serendipitous, that things are more magical, that things just really happen in a way where you're almost part of Source.
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. I mean, I agree with that. And so that the real journey is to try to be as present as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Really be present in the moment. And that's not like just some metaphysical thing. It's like, it's where am I, if I'm really kind of, and the world kind of, the wind of the world, or the perceived wind of the world pushes us to like, what's next? Because of time. What do I do next? Or what didn't I do? Or what didn't I do in preparation for this, for next? And in reality, just by taking a conscious breath, I can really be present like in this moment now.
Right.
And people used to, especially my musicians and stuff, even before I feel like I opened up to another sense, I was always very much in the moment. I didn't really, especially if it was a jazz gig, I didn't rehearse. I want to experience what I'm going to experience and figure out what tunes we're going to do.
Right.
I've always kind of been eager to be drenched in the moment.
Yeah.
A part of that for me, I can honestly say, is because I didn't really know who I was. I didn't know where I came from. Well, and now, 66 years it took me to find my family, but I lived a great portion for 66 years of my life,
Right.
just kind of here,
Right.
because I had no sense of where I came from, who my mother was, none of that. So I lived very much in the moment. Even art, I would create. I wrote 18 plays for the Community Arts Ensemble when I was at the Performing Arts Center.
Wow.
We would perform them, and then I don't have them. I would always be on to the next thing. And I think I valued myself based upon what I could do in the moment, what I could make happen. I have to constantly achieve, because I measured my personal worth by what I was able to do in any moment, because I didn't love me. I didn't know how to love me. I had an internal conversation that said I must not be of great value because my own mother didn't keep me. But that was not the case at all. I was able to find out years later. But yeah, so that being present in the moment is a really, really important thing. And to being present, and it's really interesting, a lot of the great master teachers in the world say it's important to be an observer.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, it is. It's important to be an observer, not be in every moment, you know what I mean? Or trying to, I'm a Capricorn, so we got to fix up, all of that. But to just be present, and I've learned how to observe more deeply, how to really kind of sit back and observe. And from that observation, you get a sense of direction, you get a sense of how to be in alignment. Where is your alignment with what's happening now? And of course, the time that we're living now, there's so much going on, and so much that just rubs up against just about every single thing that we were taught So that can be challenging, but while at the same time it's important to be an observer and allow yourself to be guided to understand where's your breath of service, where do you step into this, and that it's important to remind people through art, through creativity, through kind words, that we wake up every day to an amazing world of beauty.
Yes, we do. We live in what is called, people call it paradise.
Yeah.
And we're working in it,
Right.
but we too still have to take a moment to go out
And be there.
So.
Be there and just acknowledge it, and to remember that there's perfection there.
Mm-hmm.
All around us is perfection. And there's so much within us.
Right.
And if we allow to be observers and observe and be in gratitude for that, your inner garden is cultivated in a different way, and your eyes are guided in a different way, and that's okay. And it's also okay not to have all the answers,
Right.
but to be in every moment willing to learn or do what it takes to be in alignment with,
With our true purpose.
yeah. That's all I got, Michelle. That's all I got. I'm done.
It's a lot. It's an awful lot. It's incredible. And to even just to know your journey through life, and even in the middle of all of that, you actually were in the Marines for a bit.
I was in both the Navy and Marine Corps.
And so I think about how music was the beginning of your life, right? When you're rocking yourself and all of that, and then you're in two different forms of the military, which make you conform and follow other people's thoughts, and then coming back to who you are intuitively and internally was.
Yeah, that was a difficult thing for me after my time in the Marine Corps. During Vietnam, I mean, I had to find my voice again. I had to, because there are certain things in life that you're called to do that shift your sense morality.
Mm-hmm.
And the Vietnam War war in and of itself was really horrible, but there was a lot of politics like there are now. So I had to find my voice again.
Right.
And, when you've participated in the taking of life,
Right.
my thing was I want to dedicate to giving life
To
back.
give back, yeah.
And so I think that for me was like guided me to even recognize more deeply the value of being committed to nurturing life, giving life back, supporting life. And so that, and I'm thankful that I was able to return to my creative self.
Yeah.
But even then, I didn't fully know what to do with the creative self until Straub Park. So yeah, life is it's a progression, and oftentimes, another key moment in my life was in 1995. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Oh, okay.
And but I didn't know how to care for myself.
Right.
For years, people would have a family member that was ill, and I would go to the hospital and I'd sing for them, or I'd do whatever, or if someone passed away, various people from churches would call me and ask me to sing, and I knew how to do that for other people.
Right, but how do you do it for yourself?
But when I was faced with the challenge, I didn't know how to do it for me. I had never practiced that. I didn't, and so that was a really important period of time too, because it was at that point that actually a very, very dear friend who has passed away now, her name was Happy Dobbs. She was a member of the Baha'i community in St. Petersburg, and she said to me, Fred, you've done so much for so many people, and she said, have you heard of sound healing? And I had not heard of that formal thing, right? And she gave me this cassette tape called Healing Yourself with Your Own Voice, Don Campbell.
Oh, okay.
Healing Yourself with Your Own Voice, and it was all about what I had done as a kid, right?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I know this, but it was like that formal introduction into the body of knowledge of sound, healing, and tones and frequency and breath. And so that enabled me to realign because I had already had the heart to sing for others, but now I was beginning to understand frequency and how breath and sound and tone. And his thing was the Mozart effect. His thing was classical music.
Right.
I've come to realize just from my travels around the world and recognizing that tone and frequency, in any given moment, a real healing tone 3 hours from now might not have the same effect because the temperature has shifted, your mind has shifted, you're in a different place, all of that. But at any rate, it was that. So my point is that oftentimes I feel like that was a huge sort of transitional point for me, not only, and thank God, I had surgery and
you're good and
I'm
everything,
good and everything is good. It also awakened me, so it was like a sort of a course shift.
Yeah.
Shifted me into understanding. And I had the Straub Park experience by then, but then it gave me a whole nother opening of understanding how people are approaching sound and breath and tone in healing, in a healing setting. And then now, since the pandemic, the science research and medical community, because I think during the pandemic, it was interesting. During the pandemic, when we were away from each other, one of the first things that people did is they started to knit again, or they started to sing, or they picked up an instrument, or they cooked. We did creative things. We went right back to our creative wombs.
Yeah.
Or we sang to each other from rooftops or from balconies and things. So, and a lot of folks in the medical world, there wasn't much that they could do for an individual, and they felt helpless.
And hopeless.
Right. Sometimes they would read a poem, but it was realized that there's more to this healing thing, and so a lot of study had been done, but bringing it forward, like Susan, the book, Your Brain on Art, is bringing forth this conversation about the importance of the arts and creativity, creative expression, to ignite the inner medicines, the natural medicines of the body. There wasn't a lot of conversation about that, and there wasn't a usage of that, as people died alone because they couldn't be with their families, what I mean? So over the last couple of years, we've established at the Straub Center what was first our arts and health sort of project, but now it's a division of the Straub Center.
Wow, okay.
And I'm also performing artist in residence at the National Academy of Sciences in Washington, and working with scientists and researchers, and the Center for Integrative Medicine in Washington as well. So where we're really starting to expand or bring together many of the ancient philosophical knowingness of creativity and the importance of dance and movement and song, and merging that with contemporary science and research, so that there's sort of the felt sense. Like people go into an art gallery and they see a painting and they kind of melt into it.
Right.
It begins to represent things. Well, your heart rate shifts, your breathing patterns shift, the natural medicines of the body shift, and can work in alignment with allopathic medicine or traditional medicine. And it's a really, really a very hip place to be now, to really confirm, quantify what so many of us have known and our ancestors have known for thousands of years, that there's great medicine in the song, medicine in the story, medicine in the dance, medicine in creating, and telling our story, painting our story, drawing our story,
dancing our story,
dancing our story, all of that
singing our story
enlivens the body beyond the intellect, and awakens the aesthetic, and all of those are a very, very important part of what it is to be human. And I think we're at a time now where it's important for us to create spaces and experiences to remind us of our humanity, because we seem to be forgetting.
Some of us seem to be forgetting.
Yes.
I agree to that 100%. Well, if you think about scientifically, our bodies are made up of, and I read this book, Your Brain on Art, last year, and it prompted me to actually buy some tuning forks, and I'm reading it again now. But initially we were, I think, 80% water, and now we're down to like 70% water, because a lot of us don't drink a lot of fluids as much, as from what I understand. But dance, music, visual arts, those are all parts of vibration. And so it raises the vibration in our body. And like you said, you healed yourself. It's through music and through dance and awareness. And I think that's what we're all about, is creating that awareness that other people don't see, that they don't feel, they don't hear.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, it is a real integration. I think one of the art turned into industries.
Right.
There became this separation between the healing arts and the concert hall,
Right.
you know, or the art gallery, so that it's important for us to realign, to understand the integrative connectedness of all of those things. It's not an either or, it's a yes and.
Yes.
And you don't have to diminish one to uplift the other. It's trying to create a sense of balance. I mean, medicines have enabled human beings to live a lot longer, right? Science and understanding that. And at the same time, could you imagine the world without music? Or
anything.
Or anything. Architecture. You know, everything that we see is the byproduct of someone's imagination.
Absolutely.
And that's a magnificent thing.
Absolutely.
You know, and so to not just see that as a convenience, but to recognize that craftsmanship and understanding that we created things so that life could be better or easier for us, but to not take that for granted, to recognize that people used to come together, whole communities, to help someone build a house.
Right.
When if someone needed furniture, someone made a table and made chairs. Or,
Yes.
Or if you needed a table and chairs, and I was a cobbler, I would repair your shoes to get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
We
bartered back and
we
forth.
bartered, and that was an important thing. And so what we've done now, though, is we've lost that sense of connectedness.
I keep thinking of, as you and I are talking, because we've both spent some time in Africa, and I have some connections in Tanzania. And there's a tribe there, the Maasai tribe. And every time I go, I watch them. They do this ceremonial where they're singing and they're jumping up and down, and I keep feeling that vibration as you and I are talking about. And then I showed a video to one of my other friends who's Maasai, and he started humming along with it, with the songs that they were singing, and it's so profound. Like you said, ancestors, thousands of years ago, music is just...
Yeah. And you think every time they leap, but they always...
They ground
again. They're ground, and that's the thing. And the more grounded, the higher... I mean, it's all of that. It's what are we... We've lost our connection to nature.
Yeah.
And so, but the beautiful thing is there's an opportunity to regain all that.
Absolutely.
There's absolutely an opportunity for us to regain it. And so I think it's important for us to create spaces and conversations so people will consider it. And you don't have to be like deep into Eastern something.
No, you
know
don't.
What I mean? You just have to wake up, open your eyes and just say, hey, every breath. I mean, think about it. People talk about the journey of spirituality, right?
Yeah.
And spirituality versus religion. Spirituality. The word spirituality comes from the Latin word spiritus, which means to breathe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Breath. And
meditation.
Breath is the one thing that unites all living things.
That's true.
We struggle in our minds about unity or harmony, but we agree in every moment to breathe from the same source. It's our breath. What I call the song of the breath is our unifier. It connects us to all living things.
Yeah.
And so the journey is to allow your breath to guide. The breath nurtures the heart and allow the heart to guide the mind to do that which is for the greater good and in alignment with everyone.
Right.
We see it as separate. But we didn't during the pandemic because respiration was the only thing that mattered. Right? It was a breathing. Right? So everyone was like, can I breathe? Nothing was more important than that. Breath is the great unifier. Spirit is breath. It's the journey of the breath. It's the journey that all living things take together. That's a reality. The rest we make up along the way. And I've been places in the world where just with my drum and just singing, and then and not even be able to speak the language, and I'll drum and I'll just create a tone or a sound, and everyone will match that. And then I'll just say, like, let's breathe together.
Right.
And I'll just play the drum, and we breathe together, and then we go to silence. And all of a sudden, when everyone opens their eyes, we see each other in a whole new light.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing that separated you and I. And what unified us was that shared breath of life and the willingness to be in the rhythm of the beating drum. But our heart is that beating drum. So it's a return. It's like years ago I wrote this song, can't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been.
Okay.
And where we've been is in a place of unity.
Yeah.
And where we are now is in a position where I feel like creation is calling us to find each other again.
Right. It's that black and white, that
Find
the
each
yin and
other.
the yang.
Yeah, we got to find each other again. Obviously, things appear to be out of balance.
Right.
Well, the first thing is to acknowledge that, and then to create an intentionality to be one with, because we are anyway.
Right.
I mean, if you think you're out of balance and out of oneness with people, hold your breath.
Well, and check in with your breath. I mean, meditation.
But I'm serious. No one will do that. No one will go. Oh yeah. Little people. Yeah. I've never been anywhere in the world where people were so pissed off at each other that they went. No. Because why? Because breath calls us back. Say, don't be crazy now. So it's true. It's true. Breath is the unifier.
Breath is the unifier. Well, this and a lot of other things are on your website. I know that you've got plenty of songs and performances there, so I am just in awe and so grateful.
Well, likewise, I'm really honored to be with you, and it's so great to see and feel you doing art, doing what you love, and touching the world in the way that you do. So,
Thank you.
We're in it together.
We're in it together.
And we're just right down the street from each other.
I know it, right? Now that we know that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very welcome. All right, well, this is another episode of the Artist Bridge to Abundance with Fred Johnson. So thank you ever so much.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Seed to flower, magic's in your hands. You got the power, so go forth and expand.
I'd like to thank St. Pete Arts Alliance for their individual grant and making this particular podcast and everything that goes along with it possible. I'm so incredibly grateful to you. Are you a working artist looking for your next festival opportunity? You're invited to apply at the 12th Annual Gulfport Fine Arts Festival, happening February 13th and 14th, 2027. Artists in all mediums are encouraged to apply for this Juried Boutique Festival, featuring cash awards, marketing exposure, and direct access to collectors and art enthusiasts. Applications close July 31st. To learn more and apply, go to visitgulfportflorida.com. I'll see you there. Wonderworks is a co-working and co-creative event space located on Gulfport Boulevard in Gulfport, Florida. This event space offers co-working in a cozy cottage atmosphere Monday through Friday and special events on weekends and evenings. It is a true community gathering space, a blank canvas for your artistic, professional, and celebratory events. Click on the link below to find out more. If you like the podcast that you just saw, go ahead and click that subscribe button and click the little bell next to it, so then that way you're notified every time we load up another episode. Look forward to seeing you soon.